What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Renegade Gold Standard Podcast. My name is Zach Hernandez, and this evening I'm joined by my co-host Matt Llewellyn. Matt, how you doing this late Thursday evening?
I'm not doing too bad, Zach. Sounds like you're still trying to catch your voice from last Sunday's game, still catching up. But it's a short week, so better get that voice prepped and ready for tomorrow because it's time we go hunting for a division title. And the beast that happens to be in our way is the Seattle Seahawks. So let's jump right into it.
That's right. Yeah, it's funny. My voice got better, and then it got worse, and then it got really bad. So at least I have something we could record. Guys, it's going to be a shorter show for you this evening. It's later. It's a weeknight. So we just wanted to bring you a preview show before we go into the game tomorrow. If you're watching on Twitter, head over to youtube.com/49ers Hive. Join from there so we can interact with your comments. With that all said, Matt, the 49ers go into tomorrow night pretty beat up. I will pull up the injury report shortly, but the biggest name on there, obviously, other than Deebo Samuel, who is already out, is Brock Purdy, who is questionable with that oblique injury. Looks like he was limited in practice all week. I say all week, a couple days. Is there any concern from your end that he won't play?
No, I mean, he's going to play. I think it's just precautionary, giving him some rest. It's a short week. I think this is one of those injuries where during a normal week, he might have been limited the same amount of days, but maybe Wednesday, Thursday, Thursday, Friday, maybe that's when he starts, stepping it up a little bit. We've seen that with like Nick Bosa and I got a little bit of a quad. We saw it this week a little bit to a lesser extent with like Christian McCaffrey, who was like limited in practice on Monday and Tuesday and then was a full participant. So it's just one of those things where you want to monitor it. But boy, I tell you, this 49ers team and their quarterback injuries, I mean, they really I don't know what's going on, but they got to put something better in the water because it's not working out for them so far. Maybe they should go talk to the Liver King or something.
It's insane how quickly they just get hurt. I mean, we thought their running back problem was bad. Turns out their quarterback problem is even worse. But that also goes credit to Kyle Shanahan because he's still able to get the job done now on his third quarterback. Hopefully we don't see the fourth. But third quarterback. Continuing with the injured report, Deebo Samuel's obviously out. He's going to be out for likely the remainder of the year, if not the next 3 weeks for sure. Do you have any concern with their ability to overcome his absence tomorrow night?
In a normal situation, maybe. But if there's one thing that we can count on from the 49ers is they do like to run the ball. Jordan Mason is still going to be a beast back there. Maybe we even see a little bit of Ty Davis-Price and he can get activated in, the stead of Deebo Samuel. And it would behoove this team to run the football. The Seattle Seahawks are the second worst team statistically against the run. And so they're going to be ripe for the taking. The Seahawks have given up over 2,000 yards rushing this year against opponents. So there's definitely opportunity there. Christian McCaffrey should have a big game. And they need that out of him because whatever you can do again with Brock Purdy, maybe limited or whatever, you want to get out of there with a victory. It's a grinded out type of game, right? Like you want to go in there, you want to make the game quick, you want to make the clock move, you want to grind out possessions, take the ball out of Geno Smith's hands, who has been utterly preposterous this season. He hasn't even thrown for over 2,000 yards since the 2014 season with the Jets, and he had 13 touchdowns, 13 picks. He's at 3,400 yards passing, 25 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Now, I do think he's coming back down to earth a little bit just because in the last 3 weeks, he's doubled his interception total for the rest of the season. So he's had 4 picks in the last 3 weeks. We know this Niners defense is opportunistic. So with Deebo Samuel out, these other aspects of the game become infinitely more important. So I think if they go in there and they really hammer the ball and just run the ball down their throat, it's going to be a good game for the 49ers.
Yeah, I agree. Also on the injury report, I have it pulled up here for Matt Barrows. Brock Purdy, we talked about, questionable. Kerry Hyder is also questionable with an ankle. Ambry Thomas, questionable with an ankle as well. And then obviously Jimmy Garoppolo out, Kevin Givens out, Tavares Moore out, Hassan Ridgeway out, Deebo Samuel out, and Samuel Womack out. The list, it seems to grow larger every single week. It is what it is. The 49ers have been beat up before plenty of times. I'm not too concerned. On the flip side, the other side of the ball, the Seahawks star running back, Kenneth Walker, who has missed the last couple of weeks, intends to play. How much he'll play, how much he'll be limited, that remains to be seen. To be honest with you, was hoping the 49ers would be able to sneak by another week without him playing, but it is what it is. Give us your best shot. Hopefully the 49ers defense can handle it. You spoke about Geno Smith a little bit, Matt. What challenges do the Seahawks offense actually pose? Because I'm still not really quite sure who they are as an offense.
Yeah, they're not elite at any one thing, I don't think. They're not a particularly great rushing team, which is good because the 49ers have the number one rushing defense in the NFL. They have the number one defense overall. I think where this team can definitely hurt us is where we're thin at, and that's corner position. We got to be, given the defensive line injuries as well, you're wondering what kind of pressure can you get on Geno Smith? Is he going to have enough time to get back there to let DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett work? They got a couple of tight ends. Nobody really world beating or anything like that, but stretching the 49ers defense out, spreading the linebackers out, creating space inside of that zone defense is going to be the key for them. It's just, can Geno Smith stay upright long enough? DK Metcalf poses a problem, and the 49ers are looking a little bit weather worn at the cornerback position. I would even say that it might not be completely out of the realm of possibility for Janoris Jenkins to come up from the practice squad. Typically, this is a spot where it'd be Dante Johnson all day, but unfortunately, he tore his ACL. He's going to miss the rest of the season. We have Womack already ruled out with a concussion, so it's one of those things where you have Diamador Lenore still, you have Mooney Ward, you have Jimmy Ward in the slot, but you're going to need that extra depth. And so I think Janoris Jenkins is actually going to, make some noise and have to come up and fill a big spot.
Janoris, Jackrabbit Jenkins, I'll still remember that interception he had against Jimmy, against the Titans last year on Thursday Night Football. That was crushing. The Seahawks are kind of an interesting team. And on defense, they're giving up a lot of big plays. I want to share this here. I found this on Twitter. Let me change the overlay real quick. This is per Arjun Menon. And as you can see, they're near the top of the league in big plays allowed this year, with 44 rushing plays allowed over 10 yards, 43 passing plays allowed over 20 yards, 87 total. And if you look where the 49ers are, truly amazing stuff. Very, very first in big plays allowed, 13 rushes over 10 yards, 27 passes over 20, and a total of 40 big plays allowed. So the 49ers, they can strike. I think they can continue to push the ball down the field, but you touched on it perfectly there, Matt. I think the running game needs to be the bread and butter, especially on a short week with an injured rookie quarterback. If that's not the perfect recipe to go into this game saying Jordan Mason, Christian McCaffrey, you're each getting 20 carries, then I don't know what is. And I'm going to be questioning Kyle Shanahan a lot if it doesn't work out. Go ahead.
Yeah, I fully expect Jordan Mason to get a ton of carries. He's going to get more work than he's gotten. I think his season high is 11 carries. I think he's going to get well over that. I think 16 to 20 is not out of the realm of possibility, particularly if they're holding a lead. I mean, get yourself out of there with a victory. That's all you could really ask for. Once you absolutely get the division locked up, then it's like now you can be a little more judicious with how you use your injured guys, how you can do that. But overall, you want these guys to just make Seattle want to go home, make Seattle want to go to the sideline. And I'm not sure exactly what the weather report is in Seattle. I can pull it up. But typically this time of year, it's pretty cold. And it looks like at game time, I mean, it's going to be – the high tomorrow is supposed to be 43 degrees. So it's going to be cold up there. And so if the 49ers can come out, play their physical brand of football, at some point or another, you're taking physical hits in the cold. You're hitting that field turf in the cold. they're not going to want to continue to tackle, especially somebody like Jordan Mason, right? One thing, Christian McCaffrey, very elusive, can get past you. Jordan Mason is like a bowling ball. He's going to go around there and he's just going to hit people. So I expect Kyle Juszczyk to get a few carries. But overall, I mean, this is why it's a perfect time to bring Ty Davis-Price with you. He's a big guy. Maybe you use him in that Tevin Coleman 1 yard in a cloud of dust roll. But they need to run this football over and over and over again.
100%. And I really hope they do. Hung Fast says these teams are not the same. We whooped Tom Brady. They got beaten by Sam Darnold. Yeah. I mean, they're two totally different trajectories going into tomorrow night. So we'll see how it shapes up. The 49ers, not that this is important, but they're wearing their white throwbacks, really, really clean jerseys. The Seahawks, on the other hand, are wearing those disgusting green highlighter jerseys I just saw on Twitter. So not necessarily battle of the jerseys here because they got those really ugly ones. How much of this Seahawks team, you touched on it earlier, Jalen is having a really good year, kind of coming back down to earth. Would you say how much of the Seahawks team was overachieving to start the year, or maybe just a really, really good job by Pete Carroll and the coaching staff getting a lot out of a not so talented staff, if you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a little bit of both. I think if you looked at this roster going into this season, stacked up to the Rams, the 49ers, and the Arizona Cardinals, you'd probably look at the Seahawks and be like, well, Geno Smith quarterback, who's going to throw the ball to DK? Is he going to be upset? Preseason, we were all looking at the Seahawks being the cellar dwellers in the NFC West. And I think it's fair to say that Pete Carroll has done an excellent job with the group of talent that he has. And to be honest, they have overachieved a little bit. And I think that, some of that comes up against like a little bit of an easier schedule. The Broncos, who they played, a terrible team, right? They opened the season with them. The Broncos, who we all thought were going to be a contender, have just been absolutely dreadful. Second worst team in the league, probably ahead of the Texans, maybe. They play the Falcons. They play the Lions, a Saints team that's not good, a Cardinals team that's completely overrated. I mean, it wasn't until they got to the LA Chargers that they played somebody that at least was semi-competent, right? They get the Giants, who were on a schneid after that early season, build up. They play the Cardinals again and just absolutely wrecked at that point. A Buccaneers team, who have they really played other than the 49ers? That's a really good team. So I think it's a little bit of who have they played versus Pete Carroll doing a great job. It's time for this 49ers team to show them what a top-level NFL defense looks like, what a very good NFL offense looks like. They're going to win in all three phases of the game, and if they can do that, I mean, it's going to look very similar to week 2.
Yeah, I agree. And nothing but Niners are right. Mike says, despite the injury issues, the 49ers are favored by 3 versus the Seahawks tomorrow night in Seattle, where the 49ers have won just once in 10 years.
That's crazy. It's not your avocado toast eating yuppie Seahawks anymore.
No, not in the least. Hung Fat, they already got whooped by the Niners just because it was weeks ago. Doesn't mean we discount it. How much do you factor that in? You touched on it a little bit there.
Yeah, I mean, a little bit different because the 49ers are really hamstrung by injuries. But, the 49ers had to deal with the loss of Trey Lance in that game to a pretty gruesome injury. So if there was any point that the team was going to get deflated, it would have been after that. But they answered the bell and came out and just took care of business. The 49ers are riding high. And like I said, it's really good on a short week. It lets them have to focus on the game rather than reading their own press clippings and feeling impressed that they just took out Tom Brady. So on the road as well, they should be sharp, and hopefully they go out there and they just do what they do with Seattle like they did earlier. And that's just run the ball down their throat, play swarming defense, force a couple turnovers, and get out of Dodge with a victory.
Exactly. Get out of there healthy. I just think that this team, I'm really struggling not to get too ahead of myself, but they look much improved from that week 2 performance. Even though they whooped them, they look much improved, specifically at the quarterback position. I shouldn't say much, but they do look improved. Something I want to talk to you about tonight, and again, trying to get ahead of myself, but the 49ers have a real chance at sweeping the division, which I don't know the last time that's happened. Maybe not in my entire life. How big of a shot, how likely do you think that is to happen?
I think it's really going to be dependent on their positioning going into the last week of the season. Arizona lost Kyler Murray for the rest of the season, but if the 49ers are going into that week 18 game against the Cardinals with nothing really to play for, Maybe they rest some of their starters, and then the talent gap kind of shrinks, and who knows what's going to happen in a somewhat meaningless game for the 49ers, right? If they're locked into the 3 spot, there's no chance of catching the Vikings, or they're locked into the 2 spot, there's no chance of the Vikings catching them. Then maybe you opt out and you play those guys a little less prolifically and pronounced in that last game. As for tomorrow night, I think they have a really good shot at sewing up the division. They just have to go out there focused, and they have to come out sharp like they did against Tampa Bay. Drive the ball down, take advantage of what they give you, and definitely make Geno Smith and the Seahawks pay for the mistakes that they're probably going to make. So it would be awesome to see them sweep the division. That would be absolute. But I mean, at worst, they're going to be 4-2 if disaster strikes, which is a really good season. I don't see them doing that. I think 5-1 is the absolute bare minimum that they're going to have. So, but it's an important game, so they got to go out there and take care of business. And I think it's got to be 1 week at a time.
Yeah, and that's what this team is really committed to. After every single game, when you get that YouTube video inside the 49ers locker room, it really is focused on going 1-0 every week. And, it's really easy when you lose your starting quarterback to say, oh, shit, there goes the year. Well, they've done that twice, and both times they haven't given up on the year. They've stayed just as focused, just as intensified, or whatever the word I'm looking for is, into that specific performance coming up. And it's really, really respectable.
Yeah. And I think it's cool that, I know it was done ahead of time for the season. They already had this on the schedule, but I think it's really cool that the 49ers have a chance to lock up the division wearing the all-white 94 throwbacks in Seattle. It happened in 2019 with that Dre Greenlaw stop on the goal line. When we went to the 49ers museum, they had that jersey hanging right there in the front of the museum. Awesome to see. And they have a chance to do it again. And I don't think that history is going to be lost on Kyle Shanahan. I think he's going to mention that to the team. The guys that were on the team, Dre Greenlaw is going to mention it. Fred Warner's going to mention it. Obviously, Nick Bosa is going to mention it. So there's every chance that they have to, repeat that. And it would just be poetic justice and kind of like, I'm not a fate guy, right? But it's just, it would be karmically apropos if they were able to get that done.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, it's just perfect that Dre Greenlaw is having his best year, going back into the place where he basically made a name for himself as a 49er. Go back in there to play just the same as you've been playing all year. I want to get to this question, and then we can start to get our predictions out there and wrap it up. It's going to be a short show tonight, guys. Hit like, hit subscribe if you haven't already. I got another Niners mic. 49ers moved up to number 2 on NFL's power rankings behind the Eagles. Is that justified?
This is all like a recency thing. It's just, this was done to generate clicks. I think it's justified for the NFC, but overall in the NFL, I don't know that you can put them ahead of the Kansas City Chiefs when they absolutely rolled us. I don't think that that's, and the Chiefs really haven't done anything to, lose their spot. I mean, they lost to a very, very good Cincinnati team in a very close game. So it's one of those things where I don't know. I think it's more for the headline than it is an actual kind of positioning of the teams as they will end the season. It's just for now. So I don't hate it, but I don't think it's very accurate either.
Yeah. I don't know which reporter did this, but I've seen some reporters say that these power rankings are literally just that week to the next week. It's like that in a vacuum. That's all they're judging. Yeah, maybe the Chiefs didn't look that great against the Broncos last week. They still put up a lot of points and still won. Whereas the 49ers whooped the Bucks, looked unstoppable. But overall, I agree with you, Matt. I don't think they're better than Kansas City. They're arguably not better than Buffalo due to the quarterback. So, yeah, we'll see. All right, let's get into our predictions. Oh, Commanders. Yeah, that's going to be a tough one as well.
Yeah, we'll talk about that one next week. I have a feeling, depending on how the game goes tomorrow, what my prediction will be on that one. But right now, we're going to get to the Seahawks. So offensive, defensive MVPs. We start with the defense traditionally. Let's keep that rolling. And I am going to kind of steal the show. Zach was able to get him last week. I think I'm going to take him this week. History is going to repeat itself. Dre Greenlaw is going to come in big in this game. I think he's going to have double-digit tackles, and I think he's going to force a fumble.
All right. Defensive player. I'm going to go with Eric Armstead. I think he's going to be a force up the middle, allow Bosa to get some sacks, maybe Drake Jackson, like you talked about earlier. He's just going to wreak havoc on the Seahawks offensive line and on Geno, who's a lot less mobile than Russell Wilson. So Eric Armstead, couple batted passes, and at least one sack. All right, offensive player. Who you got, Matt?
So I'm going to go out on a limb here. Let's give the rookie some love. I think Jordan Mason is going to get his first 100-yard rushing game, and I think he's going to throw a touchdown in there to boot. I think the Seahawks defense is really going to try to shore up their weakness, which is run defense, and they're really going to focus on Christian McCaffrey early, and then they're going to unload Jordan Mason to just bowling ball his way through that Seattle defense, take him down a peg, and he's going to have his biggest game ever as a 49er. And honestly, by the end of the season, he might be having people asking, do we really need Elijah Mitchell? I think that's how well he's going to play.
Damn. All right. This is a career game for Jordan Mason in multiple ways. I went with Christian McCaffrey last week, and I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk this week. I think Deebo Samuel's absence is going to allow Brandon Ayuk to shine even brighter. He had that great touchdown before the half. I think that's just a glimpse of what he can do in this offense with Brock Purdy actually throwing up downfield, and outside of the numbers. I think Brandon Ayuk is going to have a 100-yard game and a touchdown. Real quick before we get into the final score predictions, I don't know if you saw that clip of Brandon Ayuk on KBR talking about how he didn't even know that was the play. He was confused. He was thinking,
I did see that. Yeah. I think he's like, we don't ever call that play. So I didn't know what I was supposed to do. He's like, Ray was like told to this and this and that, which, by the way, what a heads up play by Purdy, knowing that Kittle jumped up onto the line to cover and telling, Ray, you have to stay here because it's not a motion anymore. It's a formation shift. So you have to be set completely for a second before we can even do anything. So for him to do that, have multiple guys going like, what do we do? And then, Brandon Ayuk just being able to take off and him making that throw. It's cool, man. Like there's something special. There's some magic sauce in here. So hopefully he can keep that going.
Yeah, the kid looks to be in full control of the offense. It really is impressive. I know some people weren't quite sure. So on Twitter, if he didn't stop Ray, that's an illegal shift, or what exactly they get penalized, right?
Yeah. So the way that it was explained, JT O'Sullivan explains it better, is that two people can't be moving at the same time and have it be motion. If two people are moving at the same time, then it's a shift. And when Ray went across the formation, George went up to the line of scrimmage because Mike McGlinchey was left uncovered, which would have been an illegal formation. So because Ray had been moving at the same time as Kittle, he had to go and stay put because they couldn't have moved people again. It'd be like an illegal shift or whatever. So he just kept him there. And the fact that he knew that right off the bat and saw that was pretty good.
Yeah, really impressive. Hopefully this is just more of what we see from the rookie moving forward. All right. Final score predictions, and we're going to wrap this up. Guys, send us your final score predictions if you're watching this after it's aired. Comment it in the comments. If you're watching on Twitter, tweet them at us. Our handles are on the screen. Get them to us. If you get it right, you win some merch. Matt, who do you got? What score?
I think that it's going to be a knockdown, drag-out game in cold Seattle at night. The sun will be down by the time kickoff goes off, so it's going to be one of those games where the most physical team is going to win, and I believe wholeheartedly that that's the 49ers. I think they take this one in Seattle 20-13.
Damn, okay. This one's tough, man. The 49ers, I just spit all over my mic. The 49ers have been able to put up 30 points plus for the past 2 weeks, and I'm going to go out on a limb and say that continues. I'm going to say 33-21. The 49ers will win this one comfortably, and I really hope I'm right. I really hope that my confidence isn't foolishness going into tomorrow night, but we'll see. Hopefully tomorrow night we'll be live celebrating the division title. I think that's
absolutely, man. That would be sweet. That would be amazing. I think they can get it done. Again, they just have to focus. Short week. I know it's tough. Some guys are going in there banged up, but they can get it done.
Yeah, hell yeah. All right. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Thanks for catching this short episode of the Renegade Standard Podcast. Hope you guys have a great rest of your week. We will see you tomorrow night after the game for another shorter episode. Matt, you want to take us out?
Absolutely. Thank you as always for joining us. We had to get something out to you guys, right? Obviously, Zach, my man, is having a little bit of a vocal deficiencies at the moment. Again, it's a weeknight. We all got work. We all got stuff to do. Some of you join us from the East Coast, like my man Mike from Nothing But Niners. So thank you as always for joining us. Let's get this division title. Let's get this win over Seattle. Let's move to 5-0 in the division. Coldest uniforms in the game, baby. Until next time, go Niners.